Welcome to the Vantage HR Influencers Podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Vantage Circle, the leading employee benefits and engagement platform.
Hi everyone, this is Rohit from Vantage HR Influencers Podcast, and today I'm really excited to have two guests who are subject matter experts on wellness. We have Padmajaa Iyer, who's the head of wellness at Sigma Business Solutions. She created the wellness program there for over a period of 3 years and is currently the CEO of FundWise Consulting and independent consulting for setting up corporate wellness programs. And we also have Saurabh Madan, who is a computer engineer at training and worked in the industry for 14 years for companies, including Microsoft Corporation and Salesforce. In 2015, transitioned into teaching courses on ethical goal setting and mindfulness. Since 2019, he has been a member of wellness team and Sigma, focusing on teaching mindfulness to teams at the company. And in this session, we'll talk about importance of mental wellness in workplaces. Welcome to the show, Saurabh and Padmajaa.
Thank you, Rohit.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, what could you excited about wellness, and why did you want to be, and what got you into this particular sector industry?
Okay. So, I was living in the beautiful valley of Dehradun. I've been there for 19 years. And that was the main, time of my life when I went through a lot of events, the ups and downs of my life. And there was a point of time when, nothing was working in my life. And I was also diagnosed with degenerative disease. And the doctors had told me that I didn't have much time left. And I had 2 little children to take care of at that point of time. This is something I'm talking about around 22 years ago. And that was a wake-up call for me. And that was the time when I decided that I have to make things happen. I just cannot give up so easily. And, ever since then, my life has been a series of miracles. And now they don't seem like miracles anymore because it's like our days are flooded with it. If you look at the dictionary, a miracle is something that is defined as an unusual and mysterious event that is thought to have been caused by God because it does not follow usual laws of nature. So this is exactly what happened in my life, that when I made the decision that I am not going to give up and I have to move ahead in life, I was presented with situations, people and opportunities which actually brought me to this point in my life where I'm completely free of this illness. Recently I went for a checkup and the doctors could find no trace of that illness or disease within me, right? And the reason for this is because of all these practices I went through. I took myself through not only physical health. It is not only about yoga and taking care of my nutrition and all of that. Along with that, taking to meditation and mindfulness practices, addressing the root cause of the problems that I was facing. Right. And these are based on the belief systems that we developed since childhood. So all these things put together seemed like, my complete new me emerging. And I thought that if this can happen to me, it's something that I must share with people. And so before I came to Bangalore, my profession was that of a freelancer. I used to conduct these sessions for people from different segments of life and of all ages, for school children, for college youth, for, professionals, for business owners, for old people, for people in relationships. And I saw that these learnings that I had taken, these teachings that I had taken from my teachers was creating a difference in their lives. And that was a time when I was contacted by the CEO of Sigma 3 years ago. He called me up one day and said that, Padmajaa, why don't you come over here and teach the employees of my organization about mindfulness and how they can apply it. The population at Sigma is such that they are between the age group of 22 to 27. And he said that it would be wonderful if we could introduce them to this concept because he himself is a practitioner of mindfulness, yoga. He has had a transformation in his own personal health because of which he believed deeply in these practices. And that's how I happened to come into the corporate world and to be able to, I had the opportunity to experiment with all these learnings, and it has been a beautiful journey ever since.
So that's a very interesting insight you've given. Now, wellness has become really important in post-COVID world. Saurabh, what do you think are the causes for mental health issues, and why this mental health wellness needs to be addressed now?
Actually, it's always been really important, but what COVID has done is it's probably accelerated what would anyways have happened. Because if you see the trends, and we'll share some of the trends within what we saw in our own company in terms of openness about these things, it was going to happen. See, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. We didn't have cell phones until I was a teenager. We didn't have the ubiquity of the internet. But the people growing up these days, and we had physical challenges inside, that you don't have transport systems and things like that. So the physical challenges have sort of improved quite a bit in our environment. And if you look at this Maslow's hierarchy of needs, what comes after, the physical needs are met, and it's the emotional needs that come in. And as you go up, eventually, it's a very natural progression that these needs will become important. And that is why they're very, very important to the millennials in particular. And what COVID has done is, our needs, they get sort of exacerbated, or they come into sharp focus when any kind of shift happens. Now, the logistics of the shift of lockdowns is also a thing, but any kind of major shift that happens in people's lives, it brings these things to the fore. And that's what has made it really important. But it's not that it wasn't coming in. I think Mu Sigma being I'd say futuristic company, it was India's first unicorn. It's still India's first unicorn. And somewhere that foresight existed, and that's how Padmajaa came and started this. What do you think, Padmajaa?
Yeah, absolutely. And like you mentioned, people are talking about mental health only when they talk about wellness. But what I would like to speak about is that wellness is a much more broader subject. It's not just got to do with mental health and taking care of a situation when it has gone spiraling downward. Wellness is it's an active process of becoming aware and of making choices towards a healthy and fulfilling life in general. So many aspects of life. So it's more than being free from illness. It's a dynamic process of change and growth and a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. Not merely the absence of disease or proper mental health. So this COVID, it has come as as a shock to so many people, because their focus has never been on overall well-being. It has just been on, okay, I need to do some exercise, I need to eat food, and I need to perform at work. And, we were taking things for granted. We were taking for granted our social connections. We were taking for granted, the other facts that, I do have a roof on top of my head. I do have things to be grateful for. So there are so many aspects which were ignored completely. But now this time has brought them into a space where they have been forced to think about these things. So that is the reason there is a sense of rejection of change, or people are not willing to change very easily. And that is what is causing most of the anxiety and stress. So wellness is something about the need to introduce a new way of looking at life altogether. That's what I'd like to say here.
Correct. And what incentives should corporates offer, in order to address such an important issue? Especially during the COVID period, we've had a lot of speakers on our podcast talked about different incentives. But what in your view has been should be a long-term view whereby corporates can really address this issue so that it doesn't spiral away?
Yes. So what I think is missing in this entire equation is the empathy factor. All corporates are trying to do their best in the sense that, okay, we'll give you work from home, we'll give you a support system, or, you can, I don't know what other corporates are doing, but in Mu Sigma, speaking for Mu Sigma, I can say that, they gave access to extra counseling for the people. They connected people to us, and then they asked us to create programs where we help them with team building and team bonding and have some fun activities and exercises. And that was what was done. But looking at long-term steps that a corporate can take is not to wait for such a situation to take such steps, but to put them in the foundation, in the basis of an organization, to make these practices part and parcel of the wellness or the employee assistance program, where one should realize that a human being is capable of being productive and an asset to the company if he is given the opportunity to take care of the other things that are going on in the background in his life. He's spending most of his day at work, but there are other aspects to his life. Maybe he's struggling in some area in his relationships. Maybe he's struggling in some area regarding his health and illness, or maybe a near and dear one is struggling. There are so many other things that could be happening around, which are not spoken about openly many times because of the fear of being judged. So to create a safe space for them, like a safety net for them to be open about it, for the company to be able to help them address these issues so that their employees are on top of their game and, they are able to contribute to the organization the way the organization wants them to.
And I want to add just one sentence here, like, yes, there are incentives that are offered, but like, where does a company need to invest? They really need to invest in expertise, because you can do a Google search and like come up with a list of programs, but what really applies and how much to do, when to stop, how to build it up, it's like a sophisticated, like if you really wanted to get the bang for the buck or the ROI on what you're doing, then you need like an expert, like external or internal, who kind of knows how to do these things in a way that will benefit. Yeah, that's something I wanted to add to where companies should be looking very, very carefully.
Yeah, no, very, very nicely put in. But we recently had a very important Bollywood actor who come to such an illness. But how do we de-stigmatize such illnesses, which keeps employees silent in their pain? And what we found in the last 5 years is that the number of health mental issues have really gone up, especially in the corporate world in India, because both the spouses are really working hard in corporates. And also what we've also found out is in India has much smaller nuclear families now. But what could an HR manager do? Implement strategies around policy creation or communication or training resources, which can really help to make companies understand, and also HR managers take early intervention treatments for such employees.
Padmajaa, you want to start that off? Or,
yeah. So see, what I have to say is that, yes, so when I joined this company, I saw that this area was where there was a huge gap, and that is what I started doing. I started getting in touch, building a connect with employees. That is the reason it's important for an expert to be present in an organization, like Saurabh just said, that an expert who is dedicated to that space and who's building a connect with the people of the organization, so that people feel free to come and talk to them about these things. Just having an employee assistance program, people do not really make use of these programs as much as they should be, is what I have seen. Because there is a fear of being judged, a fear of what if, I am judged, my performance is judged based on my visits to the counselor, right? And but when there is an in-house expert who's part of the organization, who's building a connect with these people, and there are regular interactions, the way that I used to go get into their scrums and meetings and sit with them and listen to them. And then if I found that there was some area that needed some addressal, or a individual who was brilliant but maybe was struggling with talking in front of several people, then I would be able to reach out to him and then give him, hold his hand and take him through in an empathetic way, take him through processes which will help him build his confidence, and tell him that, hey, I'm here for you, I'm interested in you, not just the numbers of my company. That is what is most important, according to me. Saurabh, you can take on from here.
Yeah, and I think just to address, there were two things you talked about. First was destigmatization, and the second was policy creation. So let's just talk about destigmatization. I won't comment on the Bollywood case because, the verdict
Correct.
is still out on what really happened.
Right.
But just in terms of destigmatization, what I've seen in our company, and our company has a fairly young demographic, 22 to 27-year-olds, and these people they are actually fairly open. They are actually really like they're open even to talking about these things like openly in team meetings. Just to give you some numbers, which we're going to cover in the webinar anyways. It's I think the first year, that was 2018, right, Padmajaa? 2018 was when you started the mentoring sessions.
No, 2017 end, I would say.
2017 end, we had some 40 or 50 sessions, but as they got to know, okay, this is a safe space where we can express ourselves, and Padmajaa has been introduced by the chief executive officer of the company. So that ways, the next year we had more than 1,000 sessions and so on, which means that people kind of lost their fear. And here I want to say, in terms of the place of an expert is that you're creating a relationship. It's not transactional in the sense, I need a session, let me book a session, let me get a session through some portal. When you have a presence, then it's not like I need to talk to a counselor. It's like I'm talking to Padmajaa. And Padmajaa has been here for 2 or 3 years. She knows, over time you develop the expertise of, now the workload is high. So this is what can be done. And here's the support a particular person needs. And people can, they will send messages and say, hey, is this really anonymous? And we're like, yeah, not to worry. And then that openness, it starts percolating through the organization. That's one thing. And just about the a policy creation, in addition to having someone like that, it doesn't have to be like a head of wellness that Sigma has. It can be someone respected and recognized from your learning and development department. And then you want to create forums where particularly the younger people can express themselves. Like we've got 2 forums. One is called the Thursday Learning Hour, where it's generally skewed towards the technical topics. So they will present their own, I found this in artificial intelligence, and they're very well attended. And then we started something called the Wednesday Wellness Workshop, where we take up wellness topics, including mental health. We had like a mental health week also. And so in that way, when you create these forums from a policy or a cadence perspective, so it brings a visibility in the organization that, hey guys, we're open to this, we're accepting of this, and we really want to do the right thing in this space. So those are some initiatives, and of course it depends on the organization. But yeah, those are some examples of things that people can do.
Right, correct. And how should a company go about setting up a wellness program for their teammates and employees?
Yeah, maybe very briefly we can describe this, Padmajaa. But if people attend the webinar, we'll give the whole plan.
Absolutely, that's we're going to talk about the webinar at the end of the podcast. I just wanted to understand, are there any steps for HR leaders, because that's what most of our listeners are.
Go ahead, Padmajaa.
Yeah, so we've actually been talking about the steps itself. So the basic thing is that, the organization should be genuinely interested in the well-being of the employees. Okay. So if they want, the company to be growing, the attrition to drop, and for people to be more productive, and then, for health to improve, and, absenteeism to drop, it is important that, for the organization to realize, like I said, that there is more to a human being than his contribution to the company. There is a family, there is a health, there are so many aspects to his life. To be able to offer that kind of a support that, hey, I'm here for you, I see you, and I'm ready to be there for you. So that intent is most important. And next is, like I said, identifying a person from the organization who can take on that role. that who can take on that role, who can build relationships with people, who can, have a genuine interest in the well-being of the people. And it could be from the leadership, it could be from the learning and development sector of the company, it could be from anywhere. And that person who can build a rapport with the employees, and so that they come to this feeling that, yeah, I can connect with this person. And then for them to implement a program in such a way that first, it is to step by step, taking baby steps. It is to introduce them to the basics, creating awareness. First step is awareness, that why is it important for you? Because I've seen that in most of the corporates, the thinking is more inclined to be logical. They need to see that 2 + 2 is equal to 4. But when it comes to these practices, there is a lot more happening, which is not seen to the eye right now. These results are evident over a period of time. So to be able to create that awareness and introduce this concept to them of why is it for you to invest a few minutes every day for your own mental, physical, emotional well-being, so that you're socially having a good life. Right? That awareness has to be created, and then, going team by team, creating small pockets of awareness here and there. And then that is spread out through networking, through all these other initiatives, these programs, and slowly increasing the programs to give overall sense of well-being. So that is there. And, basically to give you a glimpse again, is that our program is based on the 4 pillars of physical, mental, emotional, and social well-being. So we have programs that cater to taking care of the well-being in all these 4 areas of an employee. So that is how one can set it up.
Let me add something, just continuing where Padmajaa left off. And so maybe like your organization is not yet ready for, like a full-blown wellness engagement, though probably it is time. But what Padmajaa said about the 4 pillars, I think almost every organization in the world these days has become open to at least one of these 4. Okay, so you'll have at least some gym membership thing, or you'll have like where mental health is accepted, then you don't have to worry. Then everything falls into place. But there are like leadership development programs that sort of edge into emotional well-being. They're not like the kinds of deep programs that, let's say, a wellness practitioner would run, but they're also like quite good. And then finally, even there are like social events that every organization has. So if these things, or like if you can teach teams how to have like a good social fabric which leads to productivity, at least in some area or the other, your organization will already have some expertise or some openness, and that can be the place to start. And as you become influential in your organization, you can build up from there.
Right. Yeah, so, no, very, very, very nicely put up. I quickly want to do the top 3. What's your favorite business book?
So, if you ask me, my favorite business book is The Tribe of Mentors by
Tim Ferriss.
Yeah, Tim Ferriss, sorry.
Yeah.
By Tim Ferriss. And, I simply love the way he has put together those 11 questions where he's asked a lot of people across the world, famous and people who from prominent different areas of expertise. And I simply love the way he has collated and put it together, because they are really important questions one can ask themselves. And in fact, I have used these questions across our organization also, and it has opened up the mind of these youngsters to look more deeply into these points. And I would highly suggest that one must go through this book. And yes, that's my favorite book.
Saurabh?
So one of the books I read recently was Phil Knight's book, Shoe Dog.
Right.
And many times when we see really successful companies like Nike, right, it seems that they've got it all figured out, and it must be so hunky-dory, they have advertising budgets and all that. But like when I read, it was such a real story that man had written. Like it was like, it would make the hair on your hand stand.
Right.
It was like, oh my God. Like this guy stocked shoes in his parents' house for more than a year, and you see the reality of entrepreneurship. And I think it builds a lot of empathy for even corporations that are like so big today. I really love that book.
Yeah. Both the books are exceptional. We put that in the show notes. Do you follow any HR leader or CEO whom listeners should also follow?
I don't know about any exceptional HR leader as much because, like I said, my experience has been limited to a few companies here.
Right.
But yes, I am inspired by Vishen Lakhiani, the founder of Mind Valley.
Right.
And I really love the way he runs his organization. I have been part of his organization, not as an employee, but I have
Right.
participated in one of his Awesomeness Fests. And I really see the way he takes care of his people, the bond that he has with his people, and also the core belief of his company to create, human businesses out there. That empathy factor is very much alive in what he does. I'm really inspired by him.
Yeah,
Nice.
and in our company, like there are three towering pillars that I think the companies taught about these people. It's Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs, and then Bill Gates for like their various qualities. But personally, like I have a lot of admiration for Abdul Kalam, the former president of India. I mean, like just because there was like a sense of mission in what he did, and like India's first hovercraft was built in the 1950s by him and his team. It was shot down because of bureaucracies and other things. But just like the sheer accomplishment, like take a look at an organization like ISRO. These engineers, like everyone in the world wants to recruit them. I'm sure NASA can easily match their salaries, but somehow they were able to create that culture where year after year or decade after decade, this organization, I mean, it just like makes the country more and more proud in their successes and their failures. So I really look up to him and the whole line of leaders who set up that organization: Vikram Sarabhai, Satish Dhawan, and so on. Yeah.
Correct. And do you have any one piece of advice for young HR leaders who either graduating in such a difficult time, or they've already into into the HR space and trying to become an HR leader in these coming years?
Yeah, so maybe I could start off with my own
Sure.
son. He's into the final year of his MBA in HR, and what I would like to give to advise him or this generation of new HR leaders that are emerging is that let everything that you do emerge from a space of genuine concern for the people of the organization. And let it not be just about numbers and about growth. Let it also be that, taking into account that at the end of it all, we are human beings with a heart. And to move from the head to the heart while making hard decisions is all I would like to say.
Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful. And what I would like to say, because like we have some very bright people at our company, and they really want to do such good things, particularly this new generation, so idealistic. And I just want to say to them that these things take time. You have to be patient, like like a large ship, it takes time to turn. So just because you're not having your way in like making this the most idealistic company on earth, it's okay. You need to take time, like get small wins in, and protect your idealism until you become influential enough to turn the ship. So that's something that be patient. It takes time to grow a tree, and you must look at your work as a mission, and not as this task and that task, as something that you will continue to do through your life if indeed you're passionate about this particular field.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Very nicely put. Padmajaa and Saurabh, we will be doing this webinar on health wellness on 27th of August. Can you share a little bit more information about what the webinar would be all about?
Saurabh, maybe you can take that question.
Yeah. So, like it'll be a little more, it'll be a deep dive into some of the things that we've mentioned here.
Okay.
Obviously, we'll talk about our journeys. We'll talk about how a wellness program was set up in our particular ecosystem. We'll share some numbers around how things grew. Like we briefly touched upon the 4 components, so we'll go through that, and how to actually convince people through scientific tests and where you can get these tests, particularly in the area of mental health. And we'll even do some live, at least one, maybe if time permits too, but at least we'll do one live exercise on something like it just convinces people immediately, in my experience. Yeah, that's what we are planning to do. And the intent is that, um, wellness, and I'm talking from my geography, though I know Vantage Circle is very international. But in my geography, like where I am in Bangalore and in India, wellness is still a new field. And the sooner it catches on, like companies will get very good ROI on their investment. And if we can provide some expertise, some starting steps, I think we will be taking a step further in our own personal missions, Padmajaa and I. Anything else we are covering, Padmajaa?
No, I think that's about it. And yeah, it's the experience of certain things. Yeah, we do have some visuals that we would like to share during the program, and the experience of the what Saurabh mentioned, which will give them instantly an idea of how these practices help improve your focus and productivity. Yes.
Correct. Yeah, we will put the webinar link on the show notes, and really looking forward to hosting both of you in this next coming webinar, which is on August 27th. And what are the best way people can reach out to both Padmajaa and Saurabh?
I think
so.
Yeah, go ahead, Padmajaa.
They can get in touch with me through my website. That is padmajaaIyer.com.
Okay.
And it's Padmajaa with a double A, PADMAJAAIYER.com. And yes,
for me, you can just link with me on LinkedIn. Look for me. There are hundreds of Saurabh Madans. Just look for Mu Sigma a couple of days from now, and you should be able to find me.
All right, we will put all these links on the show notes. Thank you so much for taking your time and speaking to us. I really enjoyed my conversation with you.
Thanks a lot, Rohit. Very insightful questions, and good luck.
Thank you, Rohit. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Vantage HR Influencers Podcast. Please do subscribe to Vantage HR Influencers Podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify for new episodes.